on worship. If you are a worship style person, it's easy to choose where you belong on the basis how lively is the worship. So if it's the Gregorian chants and chorales that excite you, then have a good collection of Gregorian chants, listen to them, but don't become orthodox just because in that worship tradition is how you... Don't become a charismatic just because they raise their hands and jump and have a lively music, because there is more to Christianity than the worship style. Christianity is the whole package. So don't choose your religious affiliation based on the worship. Use different worship traditions into your personal worship time to enhance, to bring you closer to God. Listen to different styles. Have you noticed that although you have been so enthusiastically singing this morning, there was only one style? 17th, 18th century. There was no gospel, no contemporary, there was not one contemporary song that the younger generation could engage in. Because Isaac Watts, will not enthuse the number of young people that we have here. So think about that also. Bring some variation. I know that the Old Advent hymnal excites some of you because it has been part of your tradition for the last 50 years, but the younger generation, they are not excited about the new Advent hymnal. For them it's hopelessly obsolete, not new. This is what I already mentioned. Be careful not to judge those who are not as expressive in worship as you are. It's just they are wired differently, but they love Jesus as much as you do. They just don't have the need to shout hallelujah, amen all the time and keep singing. Yeah, this is important. Guard against an emotional experience-based spirituality. That your spirituality is based on where you are up or down. So when things go great, you can sing and praise God, hallelujah, but then you go into deep depression because now this week something bad happened, things are not going well, and you feel, what did God do to me that this bad thing happened? As we said this morning, it's a part of living in a broken world. That sometimes small children die and the mothers cry about the injustice and unfairness of this world. Don't use the worship to get the next shot. Don't use worship as a drug to get you on the high note. How do you stretch? From time to time, try to learn something. I know that for you, 3 songs will do it and put you on a high note, but try from time to time to learn something. Studying can open up to you things that you will never find in a hymn 300 years old, because we don't believe that. I can see how the theology has developed in the hymn. Half of what we sing, we don't believe anymore. We have moved on. Find a ways to serve God in a concrete ways. Yeah. Join someone who is a serving type for a day and go and do something for somebody else. So there is a tangible result of your service to others besides your singing from your full throat. And the one that I mentioned, remain committed to your community of faith. Don't choose your religious affiliation based on worship style. Yeah, we are happy to have you among us. Anybody here in this group? Can I see the hands of those? Yes, thank you. The church would be a boring place if we didn't have this type of people. Yes?
Just a question on the worship one compared to the ones we've discussed before. When a preacher is preaching, some preachers usually want not a dialogue, but a response from the congregation. And some of them usually say, "Oh, you didn't hear me," and then they say it again until people say amen or something like that. Could they be in a sort of way also they probably, I don't know whether to say relationship, but I think they could be.
Definitely not relationship.
No,
it's
I think it
worship.
could be worship, isn't it?
Yeah, because there's no relationship.
There's no relationship, but they want.
It's just a
Yeah.
acoustic.
Yeah, acoustic. So, yeah, there are some churches where you go to, I don't know if people have experienced the same. I mean, this church, like here in Doncaster, people say amen, but not as freely as other churches or as liberal. Other churches, they are bursting in amens and telling the preacher, oh, tell them, say it again.
Preach it, brother.
Yeah, preach it, brother. So, when you go to a different church, should it be then that we as preachers should be able to distinguish between a church that is purely in this kind of situation or the one that are just as quiet, and yet they're still connecting with your message, but they won't say, preach it, brother or sister.
Yeah. A lot of that is culture. It's cultural related, conditioned. Just as a preacher, you need to be aware that you don't get hooked to that, and you need that to feel affirmed, and that your ministry is not in vain, because you should be beyond the congregation. Sometimes you need to tell them things that they don't say, preach it, brother. They say, you don't want to hear it, brother. That's why you need it, yeah? That's why I'm going to preach it. So, if you are a worship style of a preacher, then you can easily just looking for another high, another shot of your drive, because everybody was saying, preaching. Amen, hallelujah. What a wonderful preacher you are. Yeah. Everybody says as Jesus, well about you, beware, something is wrong.
There's a question.
Okay, can we see the hands of those who are there? Yes. Good, very good. So, yes. Yes.
Yeah, so how discrete are these types? Is it just that you're one type and one type in your life, or can you change types?
I will speak about that after I cover all seven. I will speak more about that. Yes. So let's go to the activist type. Activistic type will have a single-minded zeal and a very strong sense of vision. They choose something that needs to be done and they go after it. They pursue it. They need to have some activities. They have a passion for something. It can be to work for justice, for peace, climate, a school strike for climate change, So Greta will skip the school and every Friday sit in front of the parliament and travel across the ocean on a yacht because you have a passion for something. You are an activist. Here's the important one. Problems are not the problems for you. Challenges is what you thrive on. They don't discourage you. If you are relational, if you are worship style, they bring you to depression. If you are activistic, that's what you thrive on. The more problem, the more you feel like tackling. Oh, let's go and do it. Yeah, let's deal with it. Activistic people have an unusual trait. They can see the potential in other people. They can easily abuse other people, but they can also see the potential that God has placed in other people. They are the ones who say, okay, you will do the dishes, you will do that, and they immediately can put everybody to work because they see the potential. Where the intellectuals will sit in the corner and consider complexities of things, activists find who can do what. Now you look at them, you put them on a train, and in the next 30 minutes they will find 5 ways how to speed up the speed of a train. They live on 99 octane fuel. They feel closest to God when life is at its pace and God comes through the last minute just before you need the answer. You look at them, you're already tired. Because they live in a demanding, high-paced, problem-filled, complex, strenuous way of life. That's where they thrive. Nobody who puts a gun to their head If you are not this type of person, you just look at them and say, man, this would kill me in 2 weeks. Don't feel sorry for them, they chose this, because that's how they are fucking wired. If they would live your life, they would be bored to death and die in 2 weeks. They're just wired differently. Yeah, a good example of this was you had the hot water, you know? And the king says, so how come you are so sad today? And imagine, he even says, how can I be joyful if the graves of my ancestors lay desolate? He even knows which argument is going to work with the king, because with Persians, it's the ancestors who are important. Now, for most of you, who cares? I mean, you are here in England and your ancestors are across the half of the world. Nobody takes care of those graves, or you can't, so I'm not bothered by that. And when the king says, okay, so what do you want? Most of us would say, I have no idea. Not Nehemiah. He says, and by the way, I want this and this and this. Somebody needs to pay for that, so can you use the state? And the last point is, and I need my residence where I will live, so you are going to pay for that too. Wow! The guy has already thought about everything. A good example would be Dwight Moody. William and Catherine Booth here in England. Every time I go to, what's the church in London? Stoke Newington. I go to the cemetery to see their graves. William and Catherine Booth is there, just 5 minutes walk from the church. And of course, our pioneer James White, who said it's better to wear yourself out for the Lord than to rust out for the Lord. And that's why Ellen White, most of her life, was a widow, because he really wore himself out. What are your strengths? You create a sense of challenge in your life. If there is no problem, you don't thrive. Okay? You need a problem to live on, to solve. This is important. In today's world, you need a team of people. In ancient world, when Moses comes down from the mountain and says, I have seen the Lord, everybody says, oh, in that case, we follow you. In contemporary Britain, Europe, if you come from the mountain and say, I have seen the Lord, people say, oh, good for you, brother. I am glad for you. If you don't have a team in today's world, you can't achieve anything. So find a team of people that you can invest in, because you see their potential, what they can do, and find a way to accomplish bigger goals that you could never do on your own. Remember the principle of that one horse can do this, and the brain is not working the way it should. There's a beautiful English word for that, which I can't remember now. Anyway, that two people accomplish more than the sum of what two people do. It will come back to me later. You can accomplish more than with a team than you could ever accomplish on your own. Where you need to be cautious, because you have a tendency to use people for your own goals. You forget that it's not about you, it's about the gospel, about God, and you run over people or you use them to achieve your goals. Yes. These together with the relational person, relational type, and this is the second type, you need to choose two people to tell you the truth. Actually, this is a good zeal, but you are using people now. Draw back. Put the foot of the gas pedal. People are too tired. You are trying to achieve too much. Guard against going too long without pausing to reflect on what you are doing. Otherwise, everything becomes task-oriented. It's about achieving this. No. It's about being a community. That is often more than achieving your goal. If you don't pause to reflect, you end up not knowing your own motives. It becomes about you and achieving your project. your spiritual condition, you burn out spiritually, or emotional, physical, you burn out. But have you known in your spiritual life people who have been on a zeal for the Lord and nowadays they are not even Christian? Because not everybody understood their zeal, and they say, oh, but there's no point of me, investing my energy into this sleepy church, and now they are trying to change the climate or save the forest or whales or whatever, because they are running so hard and pushing, and everybody else was sleepy and not excited about that, so they decided to put their life into something else. Okay, what are the ways to stretch? Spend some time in solitude and silence. You don't always have to be activistic. Cultivate a reflective discipline like journaling. Try to write out your prayers. You'll be surprised what a different dimension your spiritual life will get if you try to write things down. It slows your brain. I mean, writing down with a keyboard is better than saying it in your mind. But writing down with your hand is even slower than the keyboard, and it forces you to slow down. I mentioned this, relational, and this one, activistic, other type, we need to say to one or two people, it's not going to change our relationship, but I need you to tell me the truth. Okay, anybody here optimistic? Yes. Okay. We need that. Thank you. I'm glad to have you in the body of Christ. Okay, the smallest number of percentage-wise are the contemplative people. These are the people, that for everybody else we say, don't just stand there, do something for Jesus. For these people we say, don't do anything, just stand there. Because then you get a masterpiece from them that the church will use for the next 50 or 500 years, and everybody will be blessed. These are the people who march to a different drum. They are closest to God when they spend time alone with God. Reflection comes naturally to these people. They enjoy praying a lot. Wednesday, I noticed from your webpage that you have the Wednesday prayer meeting. You can be sure they'll be there on Wednesday night. But every activistic, no way. They have too much work. Relational, half of Doncaster needs them. They need to be there. But these people will be there because they enjoy praying. That's when they come along. If you get busy or spend a lot of time with people, they feel drained, their batteries are depleted, and they need solitude to recharge. A good example would be from the Bible, Mary, her sister. Henry Nouwen, which is a good example. He just recently died. Should read his book on the prodigal father. Henry Nouwen. He was a professor at Yale University, and then was at Harvard University, and then decided to serve disabled people. After a while, he said, I don't need this. These people with Down syndrome. And because he was so well known, sometimes they would invite him to famous universities to give a lecture, although he has been in this hospice for decades, even more. And sometimes he would take someone with the Down syndrome with him for this lecture, and he would be giving the lecture, and the person would just put the next page of his notes. When he finished, he would give the signal, and the person would take the page, put it there, and my one will not be able to concentrate if I leave it there. Okay, so when he finished his lecture, everybody stood up and clapped. And the guy with the Down syndrome says to Henry, we did a good job, don't we? So, if you are this type, who doesn't fit the society. You need regular, protected, intensive times of solitude and stillness. That's when God speaks to you, and that's when things happen. For everybody else, if the world says it's like this, you are wrong. For these people, if you hear God saying to you, do this, then don't listen to others. God speaks to you more than to other people. Just faithfully follow the intuitions and leadings that come to you from your time with God. As I said, there are different type of people, and they have special antennas to catch what God is trying to tell the community. And that's why, Henry Nouwen died 10 years ago, but his books have blessed millions of people. Yes, act on what you hear from God telling you in silence. If you are worship style or relational, no, check with others, mature people in faith first. And if they say don't do it, then don't do it. You have no judgment for these things. These people don't listen to others, they have the judgment. Where you need to be cautious, because you are going to be heard by people, because nobody understands you, you have the tendency to avoid the demands of the real world. It's too messy, too demanding, you don't fit, you are a misfit. And that's why, be careful not to retreat into your inner worlds where friends, family and society are going to disappoint you. You are very sensitive and you go through disappointments because you feel every disappointment strongly. While remember we said to the other people, to the intellectual, that remember God expects you in the corporate worship. To these people we need to say, remember your personal time of private prayer and solitude is also important. Yes, you need to participate in corporate worship, but if you are not going to have those personal times, you are not going to feel close to God. What fills you up is not the corporate worship, it's the private time. How do you stretch yourself? Connect with someone who is activistic or serving time. You can do it only a few times per year because it just drains you, but it will give you a new perspective. So find a place of active service where you can bless somebody else. Like I told you, after years at Harvard University, he said, no, I don't need this anymore. And he left everything and went to a hospice and served the people with Down syndrome for 15 years. Choose a regular place of active service and stay relationally connected even when those relationships become difficult and challenging. As I said, these people are especially sensitive, so they easily get offended, they easily get hurt, but you still need friends. Don't become a hermit just because people will hurt you. Stay connected relationally with people. And connect with someone who is an activist, so it will bring a new dimension to your life. Anybody of contemplative nature here? Do we have somebody here? Like that. I would be surprised if we had more than 2, because they are less than 7% in the population. Okay, and finally the tree huggers. The creation card. Number 7, you respond deeply to God when you are in nature. Okay? When you are in nature, suddenly God speaks to you mightily. So you see the sea and the waves speak to you about His power. You go to a forest, you see a big rock, it speaks to you about God that cannot be moved. Whatever you experience in nature, suddenly God becomes real. I remember when I teach this Sabbath school class at Loma Linda. I remember the first time I went to see the desert in near Loma Linda. I was surprised how beautiful desert can be. I never expected that. And I can understand why some people feel closer to God even in desert. Because it has something to it. Being outdoors charges your batteries. That's when you feel closer to God. You are highly aware of your physical senses. So, yeah, I can't comment on this one, but if you serve God in a church where, things are shabby and need a little of paint or whatever, you suffer greatly, because you see, nobody else sees it, but you see it. For you, art, symbols, rituals are the way how you become closer to God. These people are incredibly creative. A good example of that would be Jesus, of course. He would get up early in the morning and spend time in nature, because that's where he felt closer to God. Anybody knows this name?
Yes.
That's the guy who invented peanut butter. Yeah, found 100 ways of using peanut. One of them peanut butter. So, find intentionally time where you can spend outdoors with God. Find a special location in nature. Just, if it needs, move to the countryside. Don't live in Sheffield. Just move to the countryside. Or find a special place in nature where you can go and pray. Don't pray in your living room. Go to the nature. Oh, this is important. Make beauty part of your spiritual life. These people suffer when they see, it's not here, when they come to church and see plastic flowers. I mean, that spoils their day. They can't have a blessing themselves because there were plastic flowers there. Guys, how can you have plastic flowers? This is creation of God. Make it from plastic. Where you need to be cautious, you may be tempted to use beauty and nature as an escape from people. So these are once again people say, if I go to a forest, if I go for a walk in a meadow, I get more blessings than listening people singing out of tune, out of key, and watching the plastic flowers, where nobody can see that, we need to paint this. So don't do that. You will discover that people are often disappointing, yet God again the temptation to avoid church. God can use that to bring a dimension into your life that you would not experience otherwise. How do you stretch? Stay involved in worshiping community. So find times of worship where you can express your inner attitude outwardly. This is very important for them. Be willing to serve even in the conditions which are less than beautiful. As I said, these people are acutely aware of their surroundings, and that's why it's depressing for them. Most other people don't even notice, don't see it. So be willing to serve even when the conditions are less than ideal and beautiful. And of course, the good one, if you have a sanctuary in the nature, of course with British weather, constantly raining, that will be difficult. So take scripture in your cell phone there, otherwise it will get wet. But, have a good cell phone which is water resistant, and then it becomes a holy device for you, and meditate on those words. Okay, so anybody here is a creation time? Oh, very good, very good. It's very important to have these people. Okay, so let's go back to your question. Each one of us will have one primary type and usually one secondary type. So there will be one or two which you are very natural and you feel comfortable with. Sometimes there's a tertiary type. I remember when I was a ministerial secretary in Czechoslovakian unions, I would do this, what I do now only exceptionally, because my boss says that we are not itinerant preachers and teachers, but I would every Sabbath be in the church, travel 200 miles, teach the Sabbath school, preach in the morning, preach in the afternoon, then have a question-answer period, and then after a good shift of 6-8 hours, I had to drive 200 miles back, and that's when I discovered that when I put a CD into my car player, that worship is my tertiary type. I never knew that as a young boy, as a young pastor, But suddenly I came alive, tired after the whole day, but just singing good music, hearing good music and singing along. Suddenly I came alive after a time of prayer, and I never knew that worship is my tertiary time. So you have either one or two, and somebody has given three. Why is it important to know which type you are? Because it will give you the permission to be who God created you to be. Otherwise, you have a spiritual hero, someone that you admire, and you want to be like them, and you will try to imitate them, but they might not be your spiritual type. And then you don't feel free, you feel in a straitjacket. Be who God created you to be. And you can be if you know what spiritual type you are. And here's an important one. If you know which spiritual type you are not going to envy somebody else's spiritual type or somebody else's spiritual gift. You know, by now you know that my top spiritual gift is teaching, so I'm going to spend countless hours preparing a sermon or explaining to you spiritual types, okay, explaining to you a problem from Christianity, so that it's clear, it's easy. As I like to say, even a fool must understand it. Try to make it so simple. And then somebody comes, after I spend 40 hours preparing something to explain, and somebody comes and in 4 minutes they sing a song and move the whole congregation just like that. And it would be easy for me to say, Lord, why can't I sing like that? But when you say, no, I serve with this, and somebody else serves with their gift, you know, I am this type, and they are this type, you don't need to envy someone else's pathway. And, oh, I wish I was like that. No, you have your own way towards God. So, how do you discover which one you are? If you go on Amazon and type secret pathways, you can buy a book on this. You can find a questionnaire. For a short period of time, expose yourself in an intensive way what brings you close to God. Everybody said this afternoon, oh, probably I am this type. Okay, the next month, try to experiment with that. Try to do more of it. And you will see, does it bring you joy? Does it bring you closer to God? If yes, that's your spiritual type. If no, if you have more of it and it doesn't feel right, then you know, I just thought it's my time, but it's not. Because, you know, my spiritual mentor, my hero was this type, but it's not me. Okay? Once you know what is your spiritual type, try to explore and develop other pathways. This is also important. Once you know, I don't mean tomorrow, but once you already know, try to experiment and try to do other things. So, I am not a contemplative, but you know, once, twice a year, I will intentionally do things that contemplative people do. A, so that I understand them better as a pastor, you know, so I can